Right, thanks for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. On this segment, we're discussing the customs now. We have from our Abuja studio the Comptroller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, joining us right now. Now, before we went on break, we were asking a question. I think that the Senate is summoning you to appear before plenary on Wednesday. What will be your reaction to that?
Well, there's a procedure for inviting members of the executive to appear before the Senate. So if that procedure is followed, I will abide by that procedure. But we are not, no executives is invited on the network or on media network, either on the television or on the radio. There's a proper procedure, laid out procedure for invitation of members of the executive to appear before the Senate. And if that is done, we would adhere to that.
Okay, so are you saying then that they have not followed due process? Has any kind of correspondence not been reached you from the National Assembly? Is that what you're saying?
Up to this moment, I have not seen any correspondence between the National Assembly and my office.
All right, so now let's bring it down to the very reason why the National Assembly, especially the Senate, has actually summoned you in their own words. The latest directive from the Nigerian Customs Service that car owners should regularize their vehicle duty papers within 1 month. Now, the National Assembly, of course, has called on you to answer to the question of that. They've even asked the customs to shelve the plan so far. So we want you to respond and tell us if the Nigerian Customs would put that particular directive on hold or not. Where does it stand now?
Well, I think I need to take a step back and explain to Nigerians what brought about this instruction or this policy that we are about to execute.
Yes.
I think first and foremost, you are aware that there's a government policy that has closed the importation of vehicles through our land borders. Mm-hmm. And we, as Nigerian Customs Service, are the ones mandated to enforce that policy. And in the course of the enforcement of that policy, we had to hold meetings with all stakeholders. And one of the stakeholders that has a stake in what is happening are the vehicle dealers. And these dealers, when we had a meeting with them, we discussed with them that we cannot afford to let the policy die. We must enforce the policy as required by us, and therefore, what do we do together to get their own absolute cooperation? And in the course of the discourse, the members of the Motor Dealers Association confessed to us that within their own car parks, they have vehicles that have been smuggled, and they want us to help. And we said, okay, we'll look into our own laws, because we are an organization that is governed by law. When we look into the law, if there are areas we can exploit the law to see what we can do. But first and foremost, let's state the fact that smuggling is an offense against our own law. But let's look at what we would do now that you are caught in the waves and you have confessed. When we, as management of Nigerian Customs Service, looked at the law, we now discovered that we can explore the issue of payment of duty. And how do we go about it? Let's first and foremost agree that all the vehicles that were brought in, smuggled into this country before the advent of the law, because this smuggling has been going on. And I will be the first to confess that there's no way we can 100% stop smuggling of vehicles into this country. For Nigerians to know, we have a border of about 4,070 kilometers, and that cannot be manned inch by inch. So these nefarious activities are going on. And that is the essence of our own enforcement. And that's what we're doing to make sure that we stamp it and reduce it to the barest minimum. So we now said, what we will do with you is that all vehicles that are smuggled into this country that are with you at the moment, we will open a window whereby you will now bring all these vehicles to a vehicle seat and get it and pay the respective duty and then legalize the portion of the vehicles in this country so that you can sell it. They also confessed to us that as a result of the enforcement of the Nigerian Customs Service, some vehicle owners who have bought vehicles from them are now returning the vehicles and demanding for customs duty. And as a result, these vehicles are going to be left without buyers. So we said, we are going to help you, but you must pay the duty. So as management, we arrive at the fact that let's first now establish vehicle seats in our commands. And then ask every dealer that has vehicles within his premises that is smuggled, that has no custom duty, to now take the vehicles to those vehicle seats and ensure that the duty is paid. But because we want to create an incentive and also make sure that these chaps, because of the economic situation in this country, we said, okay, we are going to reduce this duty by 60%. That means if you are supposed to pay 1 million for a car,
yes,
you are not going to pay only 400,000 for that car. We have removed 60% of that duty. There can be no this thing that will be given better than that. Right. And then we now looked at it and said, and we know that there are innocent Nigerians who have also purchased these vehicles from these dealers. Some of them are using cloned custom papers. Some have no custom papers at all. So we said, let's now expand the scope and give innocent Nigerians the leverage to go and check the status of their own vehicles within our own commands. If you go and check the status of your vehicle and you discover that duty is not paid, use this window because it will now reduce your cost by 60%. Go and pay the duty, regularize the ownership of the vehicle, and then you have no problem.
All right.
Let me also state that the law allows us to stop vehicles on the way and check. Okay. And we are doing that. The Federal Operation Unit's job is to do that. And they are doing that. So for people not to be embarrassed and not be, yes.
All right, let's bring in some more information to back up what you're saying so that Nigerians can also understand the background to this. Now, in December 2016, the federal government, in conjunction with Nigeria Customs, banned the importation of vehicles through the land borders.
Now, the prohibition order covers all new and used vehicles. The ban is sequel to a presidential directive restricting all vehicle imports to Nigerian seaports only. Now, the order took effect from January 1, 2017. Immediately, the ban took effect. The Association of Nigerian Customs Licensed Agents cried out that several vehicles on their way into the country were stuck at the borders before the December 31st deadline elapsed.
But let's look at the issues surrounding the ban now. Now, the President Goodluck Jonathan administration, former president, came up with a new automotive policy that raised the duty paid on imported vehicles from 20% to 70%, covering 35% duty and 35% levy, and this took effect in 2014. The policy aims to discourage importation and increase patronage for locally assembled cars, as Nigeria is yet to join the league of countries manufacturing cars. Increased functionality of the seaports as illegal or as against illegal land borders. And the ban will reduce the activities of car smugglers and increase revenue when importers pay tax on duties on imported vehicles at the ports. That was some of the reasons given at the time.
Now, record has shown that Nigeria loses about 200 billion naira annually to diversion of automobile imports to the ports in neighboring countries, particularly Cotonou in the Republic of Benin. All right. At this point, let's quickly bring in the CG of Customs, Hamid Ali, retired colonel. Now, you did say earlier that a number of vehicles have entered into the country illegally. Of course, we do appreciate the fact that the customs cannot, man or police every inch of the border. But there are Nigerians who would say to you like that, look, these vehicles came into the country with the collusion of customs men in the first place. And there is this, corruption that it's all pervasive with the Nigerian customs. Of course, we know that you've said zero tolerance on your part for corruption and indiscipline in the customs. What's your take on that?
Well, let me say this, and it cuts across the entire spectrum of the society. Corruption is endemic in this country. That's just as it's endemic in the Nigerian Customs Service. And I think one of the reasons why the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria decided to ask me to come is to see what we can do to reduce that corruption to the barest minimum. And that's what I have been doing since my arrival. And I want to assure Nigerians that to the extent of what I know, we have worked on that and we have reduced it. But I will not be here before the public to say we have eliminated corruption in the Nigerian Customs Service. Therefore, there are few elements who are still compromising, and therefore this vehicle could have been brought through some of those elements, whereas some are smuggled completely through unapproved routes. So there are so many ways of bringing these vehicles, but I'm not exonerating my custom officers from complicity. Some of them, the bad eggs, are still conniving with importers to illegally bring in these vehicles, or in some cases give clone custom papers. So that is the reason why we have in this country today those smuggled vehicles. Otherwise, if these things are not happening, there would have been no smuggled vehicles. Then we will have no problem with this the new policy that we are working on. So it's in realization of this that we have now come up with this policy to help and stem this thing. And what we need is the cooperation of our stakeholders, the Motor Dealers Association. If we are on the same page with them, and we get them to understand that corruption is against the growth of the economy of this country, and let them start doing things legally, then we would be sure that we will stamp out corruption. Because if they don't bring cars and corrupt our officers will not go and import cars and corrupt themselves. So this takes two to tango. But once we can get the stakeholders, our stakeholders, to key on the issue of zero tolerance to corruption, then the chances are that we will stamp out corruption in customs.
Okay, all right. Let's go on a break, and then we come back to do more on the activities in customs service. Stay with us.
Breakfast, and we're looking at the Nigerian customs and the latest directive from the customs that vehicle import duties should be regularized. And we have our guest in the studio right there in Abuja, is the CG of Customs, the Controller General of Customs, Colonel Hamid Ali, retired, as our guest. But right now, of course, we do have breaking news that the President, Muhammadu Buhari, has arrived in Kaduna. He's, of course, been away from the country since January 19th. Reporter Tessa Makende is on ground there. Tessa, can you confirm for us that the president indeed has landed?
Well, the president has landed. I can confirm that. I saw him with my eyes. A couple of people here also saw him with their eyes. He came on board. He's boarded a chopper now to Abuja. I can authoritatively tell you that he wore black. I mean, he arrived amidst pomp and pageantry. A lot of people were very happy seeing their president after a very long time.
All right, tell us about some of the pictures that a lot of Nigerians saw when he was in London. A lot of people said he was looking little frail and all of that. But from what you saw with your own eyes, can you describe his looks?
Well, the president himself does not really have much flesh, like we all know. But the president we have seen looks, from the looks we have, he looks hale and hearty. We don't really know, from what we've seen, he looks really hale and hearty, I must say that. He came down himself from the plane. He shook hands with people, very important personalities who had been on ground awaiting his arrival. Of course, as journalists, we stood from afar, but I must tell you that he was received amidst hearty cheers from the people who had been waiting for him all night long.
Were you able to read from his body language that he himself is excited to be back in the country? Can you describe his mood for us?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Can you describe the president's mood for us?
His mood?
Yes.
Okay, he looked really good. He looked like somebody who has really missed home. He's been away for a while, and so coming back to meet people who are part of his government, I mean, he was all smiles. He's always smiled as the president, and as the president, even before he became president, he was all smiles. The people who received him have also been very happy. He proceeded straight from the plane after shaking the very important dignitaries that were around to board a helicopter, and we are told that the helicopter is Abuja bound. And so for now, he has left. We're still at the Air Force base where he landed. He has gone, and we hope he arrives Abuja safely.
All right, Tessem, thank you very much for the updates there. As you have told us, he has left for Abuja. Our correspondent in Abuja will be taking off from there as we follow what's going on. So keep a tab on this, and we'll let you know how the president is doing. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast.
All right, you're welcome back. Our guest in Abuja is the Controller General of Customs, Hamid Ali, retired colonel. And we've been talking with him on the latest directive, the ban, well, so many things actually that we hope we'll be able to look at. Of course, there's the import duty on vehicles and all of that. Now, there seems to be some kind of information management crisis with the customs, whether it has to do with the plastic rice incident that happened sometime last year and so many other issues. Now, let me even just leave that aside. The issue of the arms that were seized early this year, about 661 or so, many Nigerians did applaud that. But there are also fears that many more may have entered the system since the scanners at the ports we hear are in bad condition. What can you tell us about that?
Well, let me say this, we are also suspicious of that. And as a result of the incident that happened and luck on our side, we were able to intercept these arms. We have now gone through, we have decided to go through the profile of the importer. And as a result, we have discovered that he has also brought in some containers prior to this one. And what do we do with that? We, as Nigerian Customs Service, are limited to investigating the criminal aspect of such acts. And we have completed our own investigation. We have indicted the people that should be indicted, including the importers, the clearing agent, and our own personnel who compromise along the way that allows this container to get out of the port. This indictment, we are now, for our own officers, we are now undergoing the disciplinary procedure, and by the time it's over, we'll let you know the outcome of the action taken. We have also transmitted the case file of our investigation to the Office of the National Security Advisor, requesting him to ask the DSS to investigate the security aspect of it, because apart from the criminal aspect of it, there's also the security angle. We want to know, based on the profile we have been able to make, we want the Office of the DGSS to be able to explore further to find out what has happened to those containers, these arms. Had they gone without notice? Who are the end users? Where would it end up? Who could have used these arms? This is not within the prerogative of the Nigerian Customs to do. It is the prerogative of the security agencies. And that is why we transmitted this case to them. And I believe they will do their own investigation, and the nations will know the outcome of this. We will not let this go. We must get to the bottom of it, because we are concerned. And one of our mandate as Nigerian Customs Service is the security and the social well-being of our own people. And to protect that job will continue. Then let me talk about scanners. Scanners at the port, yes, we had scanners before. They were mishandled because we had in the previous dispensation contracts that were given that were not followed through. And as a result, most of those scanners went back. But at the advent of this government, we are now working diligently to bring back those scanners and repair the few ones that are repairable. So very soon, I want to assure Nigerians that we will have scanners at every point of entry, and therefore the security and our own job will also be enhanced, because we need the scanners to fast-track the processes of examination. Once we have scanners, we will not subject every container or every good to 100% examination. But now we have to do it. It's tedious, it's demanding, it's difficult. But we want to get over that. And we are lucky that we have the political will. The government is working with us. Very soon we'll have scanners at every approved entry or border entry in this country.
All right, let me ask you this. You have mentioned the previous dispensation. If we make comparison between now and before you took over the customs, what would you say is your biggest achievement so far being in the office from that time until now?
Well, I'm one of those that shy away from telling people my own achievement. I want people to judge me. So I will not stand before Nigerians and tell the people that this is my achievement. Let the people tell me whether I'm doing something right. I'm not the one to blow my trumpet here. But what I'm telling you is that within the mandate that is given to me by Mr. President, I'm doing everything possible to achieve that.
All right, so what then would be the major challenges that you've had to overcome since you came on board September 2015 or so? What can you tell us about funding for the customs? Is that, in a place where you would like it to be?
Yes. Well, it's not where we want it to be. And we're working with the Minister of Finance and fortunately too with the presidency to review the take-home of Nigerian Customs Service personnel. We are lucky. We have made some improvement. We have gotten the Minister of Finance to approve that we share from the VAT. In the past, when we collect VAT on behalf of FIRS, but we don't get cost of collection. But now we have appealed, and with the approval of the president, we are now going to get about 1.6% of the VAT as cost of collection. That is an improvement. We are also working on other levies and charges. And hopefully, if we do get the commitment and the approval of the president, we also get a bite in some of these areas. And once we get that, that will improve the take-home of the Nigerian custom, and therefore it will translate into the improvement of the salaries of our own personnel.
All right, let's go on a break again, and then we come back to round off the discussion. Stay with us on TVC Breakfast. All right, thanks for staying with us on TVC Breakfast. Retired Colonel Hamid Ali, the Comptroller General of Customs, is our guest this morning, and we have been talking about the customs and some developments in there. Now, let's talk about the revenue you generate. About 1.1 trillion naira has been set as a target for this year. Can you give us an idea? Usually, how do you arrive at how much to generate for the year?
Well, I don't know where you got your 1.3 trillion. What we have on our record is 772 billion. And we do arrive at our own calculation of how we we estimate what we shall hopefully be able to generate based on tracing back our records 5 years back and look at the generation and the revenue that comes into customs within those 5 years. We take a average of it and then mark it up by a percentage. And that is why we arrived at this year. Last year, if you can remember, we had 917 billion as the target. But because of the economic environment, which eventually we were not able to generate up to that. And we don't want to be too ambitious by saying we are going to generate 1 trillion. And then the Nigerians will hold us to that. We want to be as conservative as possible in our own estimate. But suffice, if we exceed that by a kobo, it will translate in the intake. Since we don't collect this money, it goes from the importer to the bank and bank to central bank. So if the volume of trade increases, suddenly it will go beyond what we estimated. But we don't want to make a fool of ourselves by saying we are going to bring in 1.2 trillion, and then at the end of the day, we are not halfway through that. So we are as conservative in our estimate, and we use the premises of our previous collection to now arrive at the estimate for the year. So we are confident that if the trade volume improves, if other policies are put right, we can assure Nigerians that we will be able to collect more. But for now, our collection target is not 1.3 trillion. It is 772 billion.
All right, and speaking of revenue generation, of course, after oil, the customs is the second biggest revenue generator for Nigeria. Are you saying then that this whole drama about vehicle license duty and importation duty and all of that, the raiding of rice warehouses, is this not part of the drive to generate income?
It is part of the drive to generate income. It is part of the drive to auto-stem smuggling. It is part of the drive to ensure that we as Nigerians begin to comply with the laws and regulations of this great nation. So it's not all about income. It is also about our own security. It is about our well-being. This rice that you consume, some of them are expired rice. So what we are trying to do is save Nigerians from consuming rice that will become a problem to them. That is one. Two, with regards to arms, we are making sure that we keep this society safe, and that is why we are doing what we are doing. With regards to stopping vehicles on the highway and checking vehicles is to make sure, because we have in place already a collaboration between the security agencies. This is made to make sure that we begin to tie vehicles to ownership. Because a lot of vehicles are being used for criminal activities, and once you get the vehicle, you cannot trace it to the owner. There are people who have 10 vehicles in their houses, and they use this one plate number. Anytime they want to drive one, they take out the plate number from the one that is there and pin it into the other one. That is illegal. That is criminal. But this is what we are trying to do. Every vehicle must be tied to the owner, and that's why we're doing what we're doing.
All right, let's stick with this rice a little bit. A lot of people have complained about customs officers raiding warehouses and taking bags of rice away. Apart from that, we also have where there are checkpoints and then bags of rice are taken from cars or from trucks away by customs officers. What is the reason for the raid by customs officers into warehouses and taking bags of rice away?
Simple. The sections 147 of the law that governs us give us the right that on intelligence and suspicion, if we suspect that smuggled items are taken into your own house, we have the right to cordon that house and go in and search. And when we have suspicion that the rice that is stored in the warehouse is smuggled rice, we will have the right to go into that warehouse, intercept that rice, and ask the owner to prove that he got it through proper means. If he brings his papers and they prove to the fact that proper customs duty is paid, we would relieve his right and apologize to him. But in 99% of the time, we find out that we are right. Our intelligence is right, and that those rights were smuggled. And that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay, and still talking about this raid of rice warehouses and, of course, dealers of rice along the streets of Nigeria. There was the incident that happened in Ogun State where customs men shot dead a driver. What is the customs doing about that? Number one, punishing those involved in the killing of this driver, and of course, will there be any kind of compensation for this for the death of the driver?
We have that allegation and we're investigating. The outcome of the investigation will determine what action we take.
Okay, that's quite straightforward enough. But talking about this same rice, when you discover that somewhere a warehouse has a stock of expired rice, what of those who are responsible? Is there any prosecution process for the rice you're taking away from people?
We invoke the law. The law says we've expired food items like that. We hand it over to NAFDAC. NAFDAC is in charge of consumables that have expired. They have a law that they have a law within their own mandate of how to handle those people that brings in expired consumables. So once we identify that, ours is to identify, and once we give it to them, they have the instrument to classify. And once they prove that it's expired, there's a law within their own mandate to handle that situation.
All right, now back to the issue of vehicle import licenses. The 1 month window that's been given for that to be regularized, many people are saying is just too short and not much may be achieved. Are you looking at reviewing that period?
Well, let me give you an instance. You remember the bank VIN number, the verification number.
The BVN,
1 year was given to Nigerians. They didn't attempt to go and get the VIN number until the last week. So we have learned from that. We are going to use 1 month. If at the end of 1 month we still have people, then we'll sit down and consider what next line of action. But for now, we'll stick to that 1 month.
Okay, let's talk about training. Training, one thing a lot of experts have said is that customs officers need lots and lots of training in modern way of modern methods of customing, if I had to use that word, the borders and the economy of the country. Are you looking at new ways of training to upgrade and update customs officers this year?
Absolutely. This year, one of the largest sum that we are spending is going to be on training and retraining of our personnel within this country and outside this country. We are already reviewing the models of our training locally, and as soon as we finish, when you visit our 3 training institutions, one in Kano, one in Lagos, and the one in Abuja, you will see activities going on. Why do we do that? We need to train our people. We need to update our people. Things are changing. If Nigerian public will understand, Nigerian Customs is one of such organization that belongs to that derives its powers from so many organizations within and outside. WCO is one, WTO is one, and then the Customs SEMA is another regulatory law. So we have to keep up to date with these laws. And for us to do that, we must train and retrain. And also, when it comes to using technology, we also have to train and retrain. So training is key, and we are embarking on that. This year, the largest sum we are going to spend in terms of personnel is in training.
All right, speak to the reason why it was necessary for you to do this massive shake-up that happened in the customs early this year, January to be precise. Why was it necessary?
Well, it is necessary. One is the shake-up is necessary. If you followed my mandate, my own is to restructure, restructure and reform, and then seek for ways of raising revenue. And for you to restructure and reform, you have to undertake certain shake-up. And that is the necessity for that. And we have to do that in terms of posting, in terms of removing the bad elements that we have through the due diligence of disciplinary actions found them to be wanting. This is very necessary in any organization. If you want to restructure and reform, these are actions that you must take. No executive leader should shy away from that, because That is the only way you can get the bad eggs out, then reward the good ones, and then train them to put in more effort and deliver.
Okay, as we round off now, you said earlier that the Senate has not you've not had any correspondence from the Senate inviting you to the Senate. Now, if they eventually send you a correspondent, you get a letter, will you appear before the Senate plenary in your uniform?
Well, let me say I will appear before the Senate. I will certainly obey the invitation. But as regards to uniform, no. Why is this so? Because I was not appointed Comptroller General to wear uniform. And uniform is not, you see, I'm sorry to say, I don't know why the Senate is always talking about uniform. Those who are given the right to do the oversight functions, what we expect from Senate is look at what we're doing. How well are we doing it? Are we doing it in the manner we should do it? Do they have advice that we should take in to make our job better? But with mundane issues like wearing uniform, does the uniform work or the person behind the uniform? Am I doing my job or not? I think that should be what worries the National Assembly, not whether I'm in uniform or not.
All right,
okay.
Colonel Hamid Ali, Comptroller General Customs, thank you very much for talking to TVC this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy about that.
Right.
All right.